That's it, honey. Thank you. That's all I need.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Yay, Holly's our hero. So you guys were here 2 weeks ago, and then you just came back again, both of you?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. And you've done this before many times, or is this your first time doing costuming for St. Francis?
No, this is my 10th
Tenth?
St. Francis show.
Yes.
Yes.
That's more than Ward.
It is.
So you're the one who's been. Yeah, you've done 8 for real.
Well, junior high too. We
Oh yeah. No. Oh,
Well-
so you're doing the junior high
Gen
show?
Cos-
Wait, if I count junior high, then it's 14.
Oh, yeah.
14. So this is your 10th high school show
Yes.
at St. Francis?
Yes.
And
Fifth in charge.
5th in charge. Okay, cool.
This is my 6th high school show at St.
This is
Francis.
your 6th high school show. Man, okay, so you guys are well invested into St. Francis. Now, why did you even... Oh, sorry, you're listening to Stage Door, a theater podcast hosted by a couple of average guys. Just me again. You know, the other guys keep bailing. They claim they're busy. Don't believe them. I think I just love it more than them. Okay, so Ward is here, and we have Jen, and we have...
Susie.
Thank you, because my brain is garbage. I've already asked her twice what her name is, and I haven't even had anything to drink today, so that's pretty bad. And they are part of are you the entire costuming department for this show?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Who are you, the heads of the costuming department? Is that what I'm
Yes.
dealing with
They
here? Okay, so how big is this costuming department?
So
I'm going to
we're-
say costuming department 100 times apparently, sorry.
That's okay. We are extremely lucky. We probably have somewhere between 20 and 25 moms, grandmas,
Oh my gosh.
aunts, siblings every year.
Just
Yeah.
everybody, these are all like volunteer
Yes.
siblings, families
Yep.
that are somehow associated with St. Francis, I assume.
Yes.
Yes.
So is this like a group that cycles? Is there like 5 of them that leave and 5 of them that come in type thing every year because their kids graduate and move on?
Sometimes. This year we have at least a few moms whose kids have already graduated a couple years ago, grandmas too, and they keep coming back
They
and
just
helping
love
us.
it.
Yeah, it's great.
No, you got to love those ones for sure because they've
We
been
do.
doing it for how long and they just still want to make sure that the St. Francis shows are quality.
We're
Absolutely.
providing a social outlet for local sewers.
Oh, is that what it is?
And we have
Well,
a lot of
I
fun.
mean-
So
Yeah.
that's probably
like-
part
No,
of
it's
it.
great that they want to come
like
back.
an Amish
even
quilting
after their yeah,
Pretty much.
Even after their kids or grandkids graduate and they're still helping out, it says a lot about
Yeah.
the community that these two lead.
Obviously, you're
know?
right. You're right.
And this, by the way, goes back decades
Yeah.
prior to, or at least a decade prior to you guys getting involved, correct?
So you've been here a decade, and you're talking another decade on top of that.
And more than that, because
Yeah.
when I took over 10 years, not 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I took over from the incredibly talented Kathy Dowd and Eileen Shade, who had done it 10 years prior to me. And then
Sandy Reed was
Sandy Reed
prior, I
was
think.
prior to, and I don't know how long Sandy Reed did costumes, but
I was in
a
the
long
St.
time.
Francis shows in high school in the 90s, and Sandy Reed was the costumer then, and she did it.
In the 90s,
For a
you're my
little
age.
time,
Nice
yeah.
job. All right. I already like you. All right. Yeah. So, but this is obviously a long-standing tradition at
Yeah.
the school
For
then, and
sure.
you guys are just picking up the final torches at you guys right now, basically.
Yep.
So the torch is being passed to you guys, to you ladies, and it's all, you're just continuing the process of awesomeness.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And so how? Why? What's going on here? Why would you do this? How did you start doing this? Are you guys professional seamstress? Are you professional? Did you go to school
Definitely
for
not.
this?
Nope.
None of this stuff?
Nope. So when I started, my oldest son was in stage crew.
Okay.
And they had put out an announcement. Anybody that was interested in helping with costumes, they meet on Sunday afternoons while dance rehearsals going on. I was like, oh, I want to be part of that. That sounds fun.
Okay.
And just started that way and just kept learning. And
Did you have like a lot of experience sewing then? Is that, I mean,
I
like,
knew how to sew,
like if you
yeah.
tell me there's an announcement out there that says I'm not gonna do it.
You're not
Right.
signing up.
I'm like, well,
Me neither.
that's somebody else, obviously. I hope somebody volunteers. It's not going to be me. So was that? I mean, did you both have like some sort of sewing experience?
Yeah,
like,
I
at
know
all. I mean,
I had picked up sewing after my oldest daughter was born. I took one class in high school, but after that, I just kind of
you
started.
took a class in high school in the
one
90s.
as an elective, but I was no good. I was no good.
And you were no good, so
No.
when the sign went up, you're like, I am the
No,
one.
so when my kids were little, I started making their Halloween costumes. I was a
there we
stay-at-home
go.
mom, and it was just something fun for
there
me
we
to do.
go. That's what I want to hear.
And my daughter had really elaborate ideas.
Oh, yeah.
So we worked with that. And then when she tried out her freshman year, I signed up to help with costumes.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was
Cool.
so fun.
Cool. So your daughter had these elaborate ideas.
Yes.
And just like what? Like what was her elaborate ideas for costumes that she wanted to have?
Like right after Halloween, when she was about 4.
Oh, you're
She
letting a
said-
4-year-old dictate what the
she
costume's
said-
going to be?
She said, I want to be the Tooth Fairy next year, and I want it to be purple and yellow. I
Fairy.
thought,
That's a
I don't know
great
what the-
costume idea.
It was. So I went out shopping for fabric a year in advance to get it on clearance and saved it for a year and
Oh. Well, that's
said,
nice.
you're not changing your mind.
That's nice.
And
Another
it was
reason
the
why I love having
best Tooth
Susie.
Fairy costume ever.
Tooth Fairy. Like I would have never in a million years
Right.
thought of anything like that, even when I was 24, let alone 4.
Right.
To think like
So-
that. Like my idea when my daughter was tiny is that I could be a kidney and she could be the stone, and then I could carry her around. Vetoed. Got vetoed because Holly was like, absolutely not. I'm not dressing my daughter up as a kidney stone. I'm like, see, you all laughed at it. That's what I was doing. She's
a
like,
family costume.
No,
You probably would have to explain it a lot, though, don't you?
I don't. Maybe, probably, because I would look like a big kidney bean walking around in a rock. I don't know. I'm dumb. So that was my idea of a great costume. And your daughter's like, I want to be this elaborate tooth
Yes.
fairy, amazing thing. So that was your experience
mine.
initially, and then your experience was what? Sewing up knees and jeans and stuff, or
No, I started to sew when I was, I think, like in 4th grade.
Oh, wow.
Through 4-H and just kind of dabbled at it all
you're
the way
way
through.
better than Susie, then, aren't you?
No, I'm not, I'm not better
yeah.
than Susie, but it just was a hobby and interesting, and it's it's a lot of fun. It's a chance to be. At the time, it was a chance to be with my kids during rehearsal.
There you
and
go.
Be part of the whole great production.
So is
team
that
and-
like the deal? Is that the vibe I'm getting? Is this is a chance for you guys to spend a little bit more time with your kids?
Yes.
You know, because they're going on school all day long, and then they got rehearsal until Ward keeps them out all night. and
taskmaster.
then they come home and they have homework and dinner, and then you just don't ever see them. So this is a selfish move by the mothers.
yes?
Very
no, it's
self-serving.
No, it's fine. I don't disagree with that. I think if it's a chance for you to be able to hang out and to be able to do these things, you do it. You take every chance you can, basically, right?
Yep.
Especially when they're in high school.
Yeah, I had something I saw a long time ago it had something to do with like, hey, you're going to miss all the times that you have to drive them to practice and drive them to do this, and because then they're going to be out of the house and then that's it, and you're going to be like, boy, I would love to. Like we drove our kids to all these things, and we would sit out in the parking lot and sometimes and just. Well, I guess I'm just waiting here because we're like you go to the Causeway, you got to drive all the way up there for an hour and 15 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and then you can't leave. What are you gonna do? He's
Right.
got rehearsal for hours, and you're like, well, I guess I'm just gonna go down to the Mexican restaurant, get a margarita, and just hang out. And you do that like 3 times a week. So, but those are great moments because you drive them back and drive them there. So I went off on a tangent about our own lives, obviously about being parents, but I thought that was kind of cool though. So what do you guys do? So does Ward come to you and tell you what the show is and then you just get to work, or is there any guidance at all, or?
Yeah, I think
Very little.
We usually pick the show and
You picked a show. Nice.
No.
Oh.
collectively.
I tell them the show.
Collectively.
It's Ward.
in June.
It is
No, I
Ward,
do
but-
get input from all my directing team for sure, but
In June,
we pick it about announce it in June.
Yeah.
Oh,
usually.
and we usually in June, July start kind of brainstorming, like become familiar with the show, and then start thinking about, okay, what do we have in inventory that already exists? What do we need to start looking for, and just kind
Yeah.
of
Okay.
come up
So
with a
let's
game
do
plan.
this show right now. The show is what? You guys that parents
We are
putting on?
doing the SpongeBob musical.
SpongeBob musical. Okay. And when is it?
April 25th to the 28th.
April 25th through the 28th. So it's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks, obviously,
Yeah.
for that. And so he comes to you and says, this is the show I'm thinking about doing. And you guys go, okay. So then what do you guys do? What do your brains do?
We usually look up to see that there's a production of SpongeBob on Paramount Plus. There's a
Gotcha.
good recording. So I had never seen it before Ward talked about
There's
it.
a musical production on Paramount Plus?
There is.
Yeah.
There's
Oh
the
my
Broadway
gosh.
one.
I did not know
It
that.
was filmed and played on Nickelodeon, and then now you can watch it on Paramount Plus.
Okay, well, time
Or
to get
even
Paramount
Prime,
Plus
I
back
think.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's on Prime too?
I think so.
Okay, I gotta watch.
You may have to
them.
pay extra to watch it on Prime. I'm not sure.
Okay. I didn't even know there was
Not
so it's a Broadway stage
Yes.
recording. Okay, because
Yes.
And it's most of the original Broadway cast. There's a couple changes, but most of them are the originals.
All right, good to know. Good to know.
So we watched that just to kind of get an idea of what we're even looking at, and
what the
then
story is.
Yeah.
and then this one in particular, because it's based off the cartoon, but they're not dressed like in mascot costumes or anything like that. So to kind of get an idea for that, and then we started hitting up church rummage sales over the summer.
There you
for
go. See, that's stuff I
weird
don't know
things.
about.
Yeah.
No, church rummage sales to try and figure out like PC parts of things. Is that what you do?
Yeah.
So you're saying
For
they're
fabric,
not
like cheap
mascots. What
fabric.
do you mean by that?
It's not like a giant SpongeBob square shaped costume
Oh,
over
yeah.
covering the actor's head or anything like that.
Gotcha.
It's
So
a
it doesn't
nod
look like
to-
the Pop-Tart mascot.
Right. Yeah.
He's
Right.
actually a human.
Correct.
You can see his face. You can see his
Right.
emotions. But he's still got a costume, so it's obvious to know what he is. Again,
Right.
anybody who hasn't seen the show, which I'm sure a lot of people listening have not seen this show. So
It's only been done
just-
a few times around here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it as clear as possible for the
Right.
listeners
Yeah.
to understand. Like, it's not going to be a mascot. You
It's-
are going to
yeah.
see people's faces. You are going to see things moving.
Yes.
and on the face and in the mouths and
Yes.
all that good jazz. So you watch the show, okay, and you're like, okay, this is it, and then you go to rummage sales.
That's one of the things we do over the summer because that's when church rummage sales are.
Are they? Okay.
They
Yeah.
seem to be. And
So you guys are on like the church rummage sale newsletter, so you know when all of them are happening. Like,
Facebook,
Yeah,
okay.
Facebook.
So you guys follow a bunch of pages. A bunch of pages I would never follow.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's good.
Ward has us in a Facebook group of just all different groups of theater groups that are doing productions of SpongeBob.
Oh, wow.
Those things exist.
Yeah.
Well, good
It's
for
pretty
you,
cool.
man.
Interesting.
You're like amazing at helping. Obviously, I would the things you don't know about. I would have never known that.
There's if you search any musical and put directing team or whatever in it, you can find a lot
Wow.
of. And then there's also general ones of high school theater directors and what have you. But those could be people doing any kind of show. So if you get in this specific one, they're talking about like, how did you do Sandy Cheeks' jetpack?
Yeah.
What'd you make it with? And so then people throw out ideas. And
And
it's
these are
pretty-
public groups, some of them?
Yeah, it's a public Facebook group, and
Wow, that's awesome.
You ask to join, and there's people all over the country.
Yeah, this is a worldwide
Yeah,
community now
it's really-
instead of being
it's-
just
really,
relying
really
on,
helpful.
on
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
two people to come up with the whole dang thing yourself.
I
right?
bought
They're really helpful.
I
Yeah.
bought a spatula. That's a huge, comically oversized
Yeah.
spatula for SpongeBob for his Krabby Patties from a theater group, a high school theater group in Denver, Colorado. They 3D printed it.
Oh,
and
wow.
sent it. They said we figured out how to do this, and we're willing to sell them. And so
Wow.
I just got a spatula arrive from Denver yesterday.
Because they
Pretty
got
cool.
a 3D
Yeah.
printing model. So
Yeah.
somebody made a model of this for
Yeah.
the 3D. Yeah. You don't have that in Perrysburg? Or St. Francis, I mean?
We do have a 3D printer at St. Francis, but
Oh,
I
wow.
figured it was easier to spend $16 than to go to our,
Right?
our amazing teacher who runs it, Scott
Yeah.
Seacrest. But no,
Could you make a 3D model of like whatever the file format is?
yeah, I was just like, I might as well just support this high school
Yeah.
and buy it. But we probably could use our 3D printer for
But
things.
that's just funny though. It's
Yeah.
like somebody took the time to make a file format that a computer.
Yeah.
I just don't even know all these things. Like it's an EPS file
Yeah.
that was created for this thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then you get on these groups. You kind of figure out like from the shows and then you just mooch off of some of these other groups, right? Yeah. Well, you should. I mean, if they're
Yeah,
available,
if
why
it's a good
double?
idea
Why
and-
double the work? You know.
We
we
kind
don't,
of
we don't have the same audience, so
Yeah.
you know.
Right. Yeah. Nobody from Denver's coming here.
No.
We're good.
I feel like we kind of break it down into three costumes into three things.
Yeah.
One is we have a very large collection of storage of costumes of shows
Okay.
we've already done. So we pull as much as we can from there. Mm-hmm. We do utilize rummage sales and other schools we borrow from. And then what's left is what do we need to make? What do we need to construct? What doesn't exist somewhere around here?
Gotcha. That's what I wanted
that
to
we
get
want to
at.
put our own
so,
spin
So
on.
you have
Yeah.
like you do beg borrow from other organizations and
Yeah.
locally.
We do a lot of bartering. Yeah.
Yeah, bartering. Oh, well, they ask for more stuff back. What the heck?
Yeah.
Like what? What do they ask for? cases of beer? What do you mean? What do you mean? What are they asking for? Like,
No,
they
but
want some
They
of their
borrow
own-
things from us then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's trading.
Sharing.
Is that,
Yeah,
Like it's either school. It's not even just schools. Like Julie Bermudez from PMT. She
Yeah.
and I share things all the time, go back
Okay.
and forth. And so, anytime she needs something, she
See,
asks.
that's
and we,
good though. That's like
Yeah.
that's an arrangement. That's an
Exactly.
agreement.
Mhm. I mean-
it's like, hey, just remember next year you might need something, and we
Right.
might
Right.
have
Yeah.
it. Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. So everybody's nice to each other, pretty
Yeah.
much, and nobody's like, well, what do you give me for this?
Well, I don't want to give the impression that we just give everything away free all the time. However, you do start to build relationships, and when people are good to you and loan you return the favor and things like that. So-
Well, just like anything else that leaves my house, I always worry it won't come back.
Right,
so
right.
you have to worry about
yeah, we
that
have,
kind of stuff.
we have
too.
some writing, some contracts and things to make sure we
Yeah,
get things
it's like
back
here's
and-
the old-fashioned wheelchair that you want
Yeah.
for Newsies but I need that back because there's only one in town, and if you
Yeah.
don't get that one, I'll never get that back again. And so you got to be careful, obviously, that kind of stuff. But that's a prop, so we're talking about costumes, not props. Do you guys do props though too? Then is that any of the stuff that you do? Is there any kind of weird proppy thing you had to do that would fall into the costume realm?
Aaron Bernor is our prop
Oh, okay.
master. This show is very, very prop heavy.
Okay.
She's got her whole list she's working on. There's sometimes a little crossover, but not so much with the show
there's-
so far.
She has crossover with our tech directors and then with them and
Yes.
Okay.
with me. But
Okay. So what else? Tell me some more. So you go and you have these things. You say you big
So
brown steel.
when Jen was saying like we have the different categories of things, sometimes the things we have to decide to make versus borrowing
Mm-hmm.
are based on the size of our cast.
Okay.
Like Jen and I have talked a lot
The
of
number
times.
of kids in
Yeah.
the cast.
So
Gotcha.
the Broadway version is only about 20 people.
Okay.
Our cast is like 65.
Because Ward can't say no.
So Ward is a super nice guy.
Ward cut.
And all the kids love him.
10
And
people or something. And
so if one group maybe says, "Oh, well, we've got 12 Super Sea Star Savior costumes. We need 30."
I'm sorry. So what?
Right. So
We have 12 what?
Super Sea Star Saviors.
Super Sea Star Saviors.
Yes.
Gotcha.
there's some sardines that worship Patrick Star.
Oh, okay.
They're like a little
So,
cult.
It's a little
That's
gospel number.
funny. Are
Our
they-
cult is 30 large. So
Okay, and they're superstar savers.
Super Sea
Saviors.
Star
Yeah.
Saviors.
Oh, so it's sea sailed by the seashore saviors.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Can I just add quick?
Yeah, always.
So
Let's talk all over each other. I like
okay.
talking all over. each other.
So I don't know how much you know about SpongeBob, Kyle, but even anyone listening, if you don't know much about SpongeBob, one of the things that I think is the coolest thing about it is that there's about 14 composers who wrote a new song for this SpongeBob musical.
No, I did not know that.
And they're all like people you've heard of. It's Cyndi Lauper, it's John Legend, it's Yolanda Adams, it's Yolanda Adams is the Sea Star Savior. She's a gospel artist.
Gotcha.
There's Aerosmith.
Do they
wrote
have a
song.
look like I have no idea who that is in my face?
No, I didn't know who it was.
Because I didn't know who it was.
No, I didn't. But
I tried to be poker face. I'm
who
like,
else?
maybe I gave it away.
Plain White Tees. Have you heard of that group?
No.
They wrote a
David
song.
Bowie?
David Bowie wrote a song.
What?
He's the late David Bowie. These songs were probably written 10 years ago because
Yeah.
the show came out on Broadway about 6 years ago.
Ah.
6 or 7. But anyway, it's
Wow.
really it's got a little something for everybody, and I still am baffled by how cohesive the score is. I mean,
I'll
like,
have to
it's
listen
just-
to it again
it's
because
just
I
cool.
have listened to
Yeah.
the entire score beginning to end, and it is very cohesive.
I've
There is
heard
no-
I've heard people say that they don't think it all works together, but I do, and I think again
I didn't notice a
I
problem.
love that it's just like I said. There's a country song. Lady A
Yeah.
does a country song. There's all these other Panic at the Disco wrote a song.
Oh,
for
did
it.
they?
Yeah,
I do know that.
So just Sarah Bareilles.
She
Lot of-
wrote something
yeah,
in there?
Yeah.
She's got done with
Besides
Waitress and went over and
that too, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why the Super Sea Star Saviors in there. There's the gospel artist, so it's just a cool element.
Well,
to
I
the
assume
show.
because having seen the show, I assume there's a reason why the gospel song gets
Yeah.
thrown in there and the other song. Because
Yeah.
when you're just listening to the soundtrack, you can't
Sure.
pick,
Right.
you can't pick out like
Why.
what's going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
One of the ones I thought was the worst to listen to was Hadestown. Actually, when I was just listening to it because there were giant sections in there where it was just music playing, and I was like, something's obviously happening.
Yeah.
On stage, I just can't tell you what's happening.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's that kind of. So some are really super clear to understand from beginning to end, and other ones need a little bit of a help. Obviously, it's a stage show for a reason.
Right, exactly.
Go see it. Don't just listen
Exactly.
to it. Yeah. Oy. So you go in, you go to the churches, you do the stuff. What else you got going on there?
So then we decide which things we're going to need to make, and then Jen spends a lot of time when we talk about through our timeline. Okay, we have this many Sunday work days from start to moving into the theater. What are we going to work on? How are we going to divide our time up?
And
with all the moms and grandmas and everybody who shows up.
So how often or how much stuff did you have to build for this particular show then? Because or not build, is that the right word? It's not build.
No, that's right.
Is
That's
it
the right word.
build costumes? I wasn't sure it was like build sets or if you'd like create, I don't know. So how many like things did you have to do? Like did you get, after you went out and said, okay, we can get this, like what did you get from another place, for example?
Well, we borrowed some things from Notre Dame, but they weren't for a production of SpongeBob. They were for different productions that we're just using them in our version of SpongeBob.
Gotcha. Like what?
We have these dresses that were for birds in Seussical.
Oh.
But we're making them into fish. They're going to be fish in our version.
But you're borrowing them, so you got to return them.
Correct.
So they can't be destroyed.
Right.
Obviously, they just have to be changed a little bit.
Yes.
Repurposed with the power of suggestion.
Yeah, no. Those, I know the bird girls in the show. They could be shiny and
Right.
stuff. And then you had PMT who did SpongeBob also. Was there something from them that you were able to salvage at all? Like a lobster hands or anything like that? I don't know.
Gary the Snail is coming
Yeah,
from.
we're getting Gary the Snail. That's technically kind of a prop.
A prop,
because it's not a costume. We do have a person who plays his voice, but we've definitely borrowed a lot of props from them and set pieces and things. Or, well, I don't know if we're borrowing any set pieces, but props for sure.
But the costuming doesn't sound like they help. You didn't have that much help. Yeah.
One of the problems, and Susie already, kind of said this, but if another company does it, they probably have 10 Super SThe Saviors and we need 30. So it's either get them and then copy them, but then it might be hard to find that fabric or whatever.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, we try to do stuff like that if we can, but I think overall they end up building a lot of it.
It's kind of year to year. Like last year we were able to borrow a lot more Renaissance clothes for Something Rotten. SpongeBob, I guess we haven't borrowed as much.
Yeah, so Warren, if you just do like Billy Elliot with some more modern time stuff, they won't have to build all the costumes. The kids can just wear their normal clothes. That be nice to them once in a while.
Well, you know
like
what?
This show,
we got shut down in 2020 like most everybody else, and we have a whole rack of stuff from that year. You can Google it if you want to figure out what it is. But so I think these two are both waiting for me to say, we're doing that one again because it never made it to the stage.
Just recycle
They're
it.
going to have such an easy year that year.
Yeah.
They've built so much of it.
Yeah. So this one here, you had to do everything though. So the superstar silverfishes, they got to do. You had to build all of them from scratch.
Yes.
Then?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do they look like? Tell me some stuff.
Do we want to give it away?
Yeah. Why do we want to give it away? Man, it's all about costuming.
Nobody can see what you're saying.
No.
They can only hear you.
This is true.
Yeah. Because right now it sounds like you guys got an easy job. You haven't really told me anything hard yet. You haven't told us anything
We are not
hard.
selling this properly.
No, you're not. You're all like, well, we find stuff and then we borrow stuff and then we make stuff. Like, okay. But what's hard about it?
What's hard about it, I think, is like Susie said, the original Broadway cast of the show was 21 people. This show is very elaborate, just crazy costumes. So we have to come up with a way to translate to 65 kids, stay within budget and our time frame.
Oh, there's a budget?
There's a budget.
Oh, okay. I thought
within
St. Francis had all the money in the world.
We do
And
spend a
all
lot,
for
but
theater.
there's still a limit.
If you
there's
need
gotta be a
more, you can
limit.
just pray on it, right? Just pray for a little bit more money once in a while.
We have a lot of priests. They help with that.
So the costumes for the superstar fishes, what do they look like? What's going on with them?
Those we base pretty much off the Broadway version. And because they are members of a cult and they're worshiping Patrick, they're very long pink skirts with sweatshirts with the star and sequins.
I
And
love it.
Then they all wear like these minion glasses and pink stocking caps.
So now we all have that vision.
Yes.
So when they all come out and be like, all right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh, here comes the superstar superfishes. They call it again because I'm never going to remember it.
Super SThe
Super SThe Savior.
Super SThe Saviors.
Right.
Man, how many times did it take you to learn that? Because obviously I haven't.
lot.
Okay, good. Make me feel better that I can't remember anything. It's too many 4 S's in a row or whatever.
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah.
so then you have those. That obviously sounds like
Right.
that was more of a quantity problem more than a design problem. Am I right on that?
Yes,
That's
it's not a complex design, I wouldn't say.
So it was not a complex design, but I'm trying to think like 30 skirts, 30 sweatshirts. Probably took us a month.
And everybody is the same size, so you only have to make one
Right,
pattern.
exactly.
Yes.
Not a
Yeah.
problem.
So there's that too, right? So you are the
Right.
ones who are with the measuring tape on everybody?
Yep.
Yes. We measure the kids at auditions so that as soon as the cast list comes out, we can just start.
Yep.
Gotcha. But these are teenagers; they grow.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
It has been known to happen.
Well, yeah, these are boys too,
Yes.
so they
Yeah.
can hit a growth spurt at any time and go from being 5 foot to 5'10" in no time flat. Maybe not 5'10", but you know.
Thankfully, they seem to do that in between musical seasons from
Do
one
they?
year to the next.
So, but
Yes,
how long between you take the measurements by the time that the show is?
December
4
to April.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
4 months.
4
Yeah.
months. That is a definitely amount of time
think
that
you're
kids are
jinxing
growing.
us.
Well, I'm just saying they do grow. They do grow. They're not all like
If
my
any of them
kids
are
who never
listening, I'd
grow.
like them to not
But
grow.
we also know how to alter, so we can
Yes.
fix
Gotcha.
that if they grow. Then we can
Okay.
just
you just
make
yeah.
That's
those
where our
changes.
handy dandy
Anybody
style
ever
costumes.
outgrow their costume? Like, sorry, you got to be something else. Does that ever happen?
I
before?
don't think where we had to put a whole new one on them. We've had to adjust, but
Yeah.
I don't think.
Really, you've
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
add fabric probably to somebody who had giant high waters on,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's been too bad. The last 2 years, I guess baseball players and Renaissance clothes with short pants. So it's
Yeah,
fine.
that's been
Yeah,
fine. They
right.
can grow.
Yeah.
You're right. You got little baseball knickers that they had
Right.
on. Is that what those are called, Ward?
Yeah, I would think so.
I don't
Aren't
know.
they?
I don't
Knickers?
know.
Yeah,
I have
that's
no
what I
Not
idea.
call
knickers. I don't know.
I don't know
Where's
either.
Grant when you
I
need
see
him?
Grant's
Right?
here.
Yes.
So that was a quantity thing. It sounded like you had to just assembly line this thing.
Yes.
Yes.
But then you also have to have the measurements there. So you guys have to who's monitoring these measurements? Who's doing all this stuff? What if you lose the measurements? How many copies of measurements do you have everywhere?
Oh, they're in a Google Doc and yeah,
Yes.
Being saved on the cloud?
Yes.
saved and shared. Yes,
Good. It's shared. That's bad because then that's how things get erased.
between Susie and I.
No,
they're
just the
shared.
two of us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. So if
Yeah.
something disappears, you can blame Susie then, right, Jen?
No, it would be me that would be
Oh, you're the
losing
one-
it. Susie
okay.
keeps track of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But so then you have to have all these measurements and all these things.
Yes.
Say, okay, we need to have a size medium. We need 10 mediums. We need 10 smalls. We got an extra small for the freshmen, and then we got this other one,
Yeah.
like that kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So then, what else is going on now that you've done the superstar fishes?
So that's one, but then a really big one in this show is the opening number.
Okay.
You have all of the lead kids, but then everybody else is some fantastical underwater sea creature.
Gotcha. Some sort of
where we have to
coral
make it
and-
up ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
And everybody's
So-
in it.
Yeah,
All
everybody's in
63
it.
of them.
Oh wow.
Super
So, you know.
colorful, wild
Everyone's
ideas.
different.
Everyone's different.
So this one
So-
shot right in the very beginning is a screenshot of everything you produced.
Kind
It's
of.
some of what we produced,
It's
but
a
yes,
song that
it's-
builds, and there's 4
Yeah.
sections of it, and lots of dialogue in the middle and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of like the finale of that song. It's like hey, we're in Bikini Bottom, and this is SpongeBob, and this is Patrick, and you get introduced to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So-
But everybody's
but,
coming on with all
yeah.
these costumes, and
Yeah. Mhm.
but the whole cast has to have a costume on. It's not like somebody's coming off and putting a new costume on and doing that.
No.
So this is pretty, but there are probably costumes just hanging in the back still. Imagine, right?
Yes.
Yes, people are whipping some costumes off in the show and putting other costumes on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another spectacular thing that you have to do for that.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of these has been the craziest, hardest one of the costumes that you've had to make?
For this show,
Yeah, for this show.
This was okay. So back to when you asked how much input Ward
Yeah.
has. Ward has a couple ideas every year.
Oh,
and
got weird ideas.
one-
I'm
not weird ones.
Not
I
weird.
Just they're his own.
I'm not
take.
extremely picky about costumes.
he's
but
not.
I know if I didn't like them, I'd say something. But they do such great work. I don't have
Jen
to say
wouldn't be
much.
back. Exactly.
I mean, seriously.
You wouldn't know that Ward didn't like you. You just
No.
there'd be signs.
But Ward
papers.
wanted to do a different take. Instead of traditionally most productions, Karen is played by an actress who then has a computer screen on a pole that she pulls around on stage, and it shows her emotions and whatever she's doing on it. Ward said he would prefer if it could be on her.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So
It felt like she was pulling around an IV or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did. Yeah. That
I
makes
mean,
sense.
It's a cool thing, but I just thought wouldn't it be cool if you didn't have to have
And
that?
freeze their hands
Karen, the
out.
cartoon
Yeah.
is the computer,
Yeah.
so there doesn't
Right.
have to be anybody drug
Right.
around.
Right.
But that does, now that you say it,
So
does
she
seem like it would be.
has, I built into the front of her dress, a Bluetooth screen on the front. So it can, you can run it through an app and have it say anything you want or be any pictures you want. Or there are ones already like pre-programmed into it that you can do just by cycling through with the button on it. And then the little controller's in a pocket inside her dress, and she can just hit
So
the
she
button.
controls the actual button.
She
of it.
can, yes. And if you wanted to run it through the app, you could have someone off stage doing it with their phone.
Yeah, but she can do it herself,
Yes.
though. So she doesn't have to rely on somebody that's
Right.
dozed off in the background or something.
Right. Or somebody who wants to be funny and type something on there that they shouldn't.
Oh, something. I
The
assume,
other-
again, haven't seen the show, so I assume
Right.
there's some gag that'll happen on her screen.
The other really
She's kind of
big-
snarky. Karen,
She is
so-
kind of snarky.
The other really big thing is, and we outsourced this one to one of our former costume designers, is Eileen Shade, created Squidward's second pair of legs that have to, he's got 4 legs.
Yeah,
So
he's a squid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, I mean, you guys can talk more about it, but it was
This is
it was a
Eileen's,
huge project.
like-
We had Pasquale's shoe
Yeah.
repair involved. We had our tech director involved because
Mm-hmm.
you have 2 pairs of shoes because there's 4 feet, but they're connected. Like, I'm trying to do visual things on a podcast. They're connected, so your right foot and the back leg's right foot are connected to each other.
So
we
it's
had
two.
to-
It's 2 pair of pants
Yeah.
connected that he's wearing, and then Eileen had to create a second pair of legs for him, a second pair of feet for him, because he actually taps.
And
Oh, boy.
also
With
tap
4
shoes
legs.
that are sewn together to other shoes.
But then he also has to have regular shoes for walking around, and he has a backup pair. So
Yeah.
this whole
So
one
this
part
project,
of one costume.
So this sounds like one of the more difficult ones, like you said, with the monitor and
Yes.
this one too. Yeah.
It was. Yeah,
Is it 6
There's a lot.
pairs of shoes he has?
he has 6 pair of shoes. Yeah.
And these, of course, have to fit him.
Yes.
Yes.
These
Well, the
pants
front
come
ones
with
have
Three
to fit.
3 pair have to fit him. His extra pair don't have to fit, but have to be kind of close.
3 what have to fit him? 3 feet
3
have to fit
pairs
him?
of them have to fit in.
3
Oh,
pair
3
of his-
pairs.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
3 pairs that go on
Yes.
his real
Thank you,
feet.
because he makes costume changes. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he taps in one number.
So he has to go off stage and rip his clothes off and put
Just
these back
the
on.
shoes.
It's a brown
Oh.
pair, a white pair of taps, and then a practice pair so he doesn't ruin them before show time. That's what it is,
Yeah,
really. It's
okay.
really only he has to change shoes during the show. The rest of the show he wears
Yes.
the same thing.
Okay, but when he does the tap number, he
Yeah.
has to change the shoes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That tap number changes are always interesting because how are we going to incorporate this in and not be
Yeah.
awkward?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the kids have to rip or the people have to rip their old shoes off and put their new shoes off,
Right.
and they need to be tied so they don't fly off.
Right.
So I'm always like, this ought to be fun. How are they going to incorporate
So
this? in?
Squidward does this big tap number with, is it 9 or 10?
10.
10 sea anemones behind him
Nice.
that they've created these amazing hot pink costumes for, and they even have gloves with, I guess should I not give it all away?
That's
It's really great.
Yeah,
But,
director.
No, what I
Eyeballs.
want,
Yeah.
what I want for anybody listening to the podcast is to understand the amount of work that you guys do, the amount of creativity that you guys possess to be able to do this. I don't want anybody listening to this to think that it's a piece of cake and they're also just going to sign up if a newsletter comes home. Okay, I want them to know what they're getting into, but I also want them to know that you guys are no slouches. It's like I want to talk about what is involved in these costumes. So if you can give more details and more awesomeness of everything,
Like
you
Ward
can
was
give-
talking about, they have, so the sea anemones, they have
I can barely even say anemones.
They-
so that's already,
they have a pair of eyeballs on each hand, each foot, and on their hat. So we had 12 dozen ping pong balls that we had to paint into eyeballs for them and our other fish creatures, that then the ping pong balls get sewn onto things. And so that's just one weird little
Yeah.
element that's, 144 of those.
But that's the fun part too, right?
Right,
That's got to be the
absolutely.
fun part of gluing eyeballs on
Yeah.
the hands.
Yeah.
'Cause
You
why
should
do you
see-
have eyeballs on hands?
Right.
That's odd already.
You
Sea
should
anemones
see
have eyes on their hands?
Our band room on Sunday afternoons. It's like, I mean, I shouldn't joke about it, but it's like a sweatshop. I mean, there's people in there, like, there's 6 or 7 sewing machines going. There's somebody hot gluing something. There's somebody cutting a pattern,
Fabric
You walk-
alternatives.
you walk
and
in
these two
there.
are are walking around organizing it all, and
All you
making
hear is
sure
like
it all
fans
happens.
blowing around. Everybody's looking all sweaty, and you hear the.
Yeah.
That's all you get the whole time. It's like,
No time
We'll
for a
go
break,
do the
Grandma.
stop.
Keep going.
Yeah, right.
now your back's gonna hurt. Get out in the back.
Yeah.
Start plowing. Yeah, it's like, jeez, they're all grandmas too. You guys are terrible. You're mean.
No, we have a fantastic group of about 6 grandmas that come in,
Okay.
and they all set up and they sit and they sew, and
They sit
that's
together.
like one section. And then,
Oh.
and then we have
It's the granny corner. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Yeah.
and then we have quite a few moms that don't know how to sew,
Oh.
which is I always say is fine. But can you paint? Can you use a glue
Okay.
gun? Can you hand sew? Can you sew? Or can you organize?
Glue
'Cause
gun. They're
there's
going
so-
home with their burn wounds
Yeah.
and everything. And all that.
They
That'd be
do
me.
every
Yeah.
weird thing we hand to them.
Yes.
Yeah, every glue the eyeballs on job
Yes.
is them, huh?
Last
Well, you
week
gotta
we
make
were
a
ping pong
thing.
balls on tutus.
Yeah.
You got to make name cards for each kid to put their
Oh my
costumes
gosh.
behind. I mean, there's all kinds of little jobs that just involve organizing. That,
Yeah, how many like
So-
sequence things are? Because I feel like fishes have scales, and there'd be like a million of these things.
Yes.
Is there like stuff like that you have to sew on
Yes.
or glue on or
Yep.
whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured there would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It
a very
just-
sparkly, colorful show.
Yeah, and nothing says fish scales more than sequence.
Exactly.
Right.
Blech.
And to give you an idea of scope, we don't have a final number of costumes for this show, but last year for Something Rotten, we were at 350 costumes for that show.
Really?
So, really.
There's more in this one then. I assume there's more in SpongeBob than there is in
It's
Something
actually,
Rotten.
isn't it less?
I think it will end up total number less, but probably more sewing this year.
Yeah,
than
and the
last
costumes
year.
are just
Complicated.
more elaborate
Yes.
and crazier.
It just seems
'Cause-
like they're all Renaissance-y people, and they all kind of have their costumes. And this one, there's so many different kinds
Right.
of animal life. And
But
stuff.
but in
Right.
Something Rotten, they change clothes because it's a different day, and this is like This all happens over the course of 2 days, and just like the cartoon, SpongeBob never changes his
no,
clothes.
Patrick.
Yeah.
Patrick is always Patrick.
So,
That makes
right.
sense.
That's
yeah.
a big
So-
one in this one that the leads don't really
Yeah.
change, and that's a lot different from the other shows we've done.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about some maintenance. Again, I want everybody to know what you guys do and how you do this, and how close are you to being done with costumes.
boy.
And then you guys have to do certain ones because you got promotional photos that have to be taken sooner.
right?
That is
Yes.
correct. That actually is
Yeah.
good, even though sometimes it feels like, oh, this is really hard. When Ward gives us, we bug him all the time, like, what day is the photo shoot? What day is the photo shoot? So we know this year especially, we had to
Just bug Holly
have
directly.
8 or 10 kids done by the time the
Yeah.
photo shoot came along. And we even had, before that, we had the Funorama Festival
Yeah.
that this year, there was at St. Francis, their festival
Ward,
fundraiser.
you can always have less people in the photo shoot.
I could.
You know,
I
and
don't
then
know if
they
you
won't
know-
They don't have to have 10 costumes on. They can have 3.
But it was good because it made
Yeah.
us have the 10 done, and
That's
it was
true.
then we could check those off, which was great. And then for Funorama before that, the kids did a photo booth that little
Oh.
kids kind of came up. So there
Oh,
were
that's
a handful that Ward had of us that we needed to have done then too. So it kind of organizes the timeline a
youngsters
little
got
bit.
to come in and do all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. So these kids are have already been exposed to what you guys have done
Yes.
and what the show is going to be. So maybe they'll be a little bit more juiced up when it's time for the actual production that is
Yes.
going to be when.
April 25th to the 28th.
All right, April 20th. Where do you buy the tickets when they do this?
You go to the St. Francis, it's sfsnights.org.
Okay.
And you can do /musical, or you can just find musical and click it. But that's where you find tickets.
So
and ours,
that's the standard St. Francis website. Then,
yeah,
Right? Okay.
yeah. And we have a wonderful website. Tyler Clark, our marketing director, just launched a new website this school year, and it's just amazing.